at Tony's Tacos today, and I'm going to be installing a full gauge control in this turbo air unit. And what happened is this unit broke down on him, and this control right here takes about 3 weeks to get. So obviously they have food and other stuff in here which is still frozen. It looks frozen, right? We won't tell you the address for Tony's Tacos, don't worry. He obviously can't wait 3 weeks for this controller. I don't know why they use these anyway. So here's what we're going to be retrofitting this unit with. And it's this full gauge TC900. And this is going to control the defrost heaters, fans, compressor, everything, all in this one unit. And before I continue, it's Murphy's Law that he called somebody out here. I'm going to show you the capacitor burning up from when we were here yesterday. The guy said he was a technician, but he was actually a butcher. Because all he did was butcher these wires to hell. Look at this. Burned up wires in there. Their taco meat is not even this burned. Before I start my retrofit, I'm going to change out this capacitor real quick. As you just saw, this thing fried up real nice. Made it nice and black, like some steak. My taco. This particular freezer is probably the most difficult stand-up unit to retrofit with a full gauge controller, because what happens is all these wires down here that are going to the compressor and the relay and everything else are actually controlled through this controller. So it's kind of retarded, but I guess that's how they made it. They thought it was a great idea. Not so great when you need to work on it. What we're going to have to do is we're going to have to open up that panel up there, open up all this stuff, and trace it wire for wire, mark everything. What's nice about that is in the future, that full gauge control is going to be down here in the bottom. It's going to be very accessible and serviceable, and that's actually going to control everything in the freezer. So if anything happens, everything will be right here. Start off my little project here. Just like any good restaurant owner, they're always prepared. They got the whole damn refrigerator full of oof, damn, that's shrimp. Like Rocky. Damn, that thing's gotta weigh like 100 pounds. Oh, yep, this is sanitary. What is that, salmon? I guess they figure that you're never gonna need to service this unit. Okay. Here's where all the wires are housed that go into this main controller. So all this bundle of wires here is what comes from down there. Right down there. Why they do it this way, I have no idea. I mean, I guess it's to save money or something. It's kind of retarded. So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at the wiring diagram and identify each one of these wires. Mark them, hook them up to the appropriate wire that's going down to that electrical box, and that's where we're going to mount our full gauge controller. Hopefully our full gauge controller works, because this thing ain't going to be any good anymore. Wires for the fans are going to be right here, black and white right there. And these two wires are for our light. It's nice that Turbo Air makes every single wire that's running in that evaporator black and white. Every single wire is the same color. So everything's black. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to I'm going to have to put power on there to each one and check and see and label which wire is which. Those lights. I couldn't figure out the wiring with just the extension cord. So much for live power. This is what I've resorted to. Actually tracing the circuit on the control board to figure out where these damn wires go. What kind of service technician comes out and just cuts all the wires blindly? We just went and cut all the wires. This thing has like 4 different wires that are the same color going to all different places. So we have to check them one circuit at a time. I'm having such a hard time figuring out what wires are for what, so I'm just really frustrated right now. So hopefully this is the hot for the heater, and I guess we'll find out. Oh, well, I see a spark, so I think this is it. I hear some creaking. Thank Jesus that it's actually the right connector here. Make sure there's no explosion first. Before we burn a perfectly good full gauge control for a perfect piece of refrigerator. Oh, that one. I guess that was not right. Let me try this one. I just want to clarify that this is no fault of the controller. This is fault of this refrigerator manufacturer. I have no idea why they use, maybe they got a deal on wires or something. Everything's the same damn color. So it's really hard to trace. I'm going to learn a little bit from the refrigeration guy who screwed this up in the first place. I'm going to use the same method to fix it. I'm just going to snip everything. Snip the switch, snip the cable, tear all this out of here. Snip that, snip this, and just snip everything. So much for doing it right. Snip, snip, snip. Snip, snip, snip. There we go. Snip, snip, snip. It's all gone. It's all done. That's the way to fix it. So I'm trying to find the breaker that we tripped. Apparently we tripped a breaker that doesn't exist. Because there's none. There's none that are tripped. Hey, ask him if there's anything else that's not working, would you?
Seriously?
Yeah, ask him if there's anything else that's off. Hey, is there anything that's not working here? This does? Yeah, but there's not tripped. Look. Oh, maybe this is it.
It's on.
I'm done tracing all the wires, and now my next step is to finally get this controller installed. Oh yeah, it's good. This is good. Yeah. Perfect. We're going to use speaker wires to extend the sensor. That's how versatile these controllers are. The refrigerator, on the other hand, is a piece of shit, but the controller's good. So obviously the most valuable component this thing's going to have now is going to be the controller. This thing doesn't deserve to get touched by an expensive Milwaukee drill. This one gets the hammer and the screwdriver right through the back. This is how you make a hole for the sensor right here. Much, much faster than a drill. To fix anything with a pair of vice grips, a screwdriver, and a hammer. Time to put the sensors in. Black is ambient. Oh, look at that. It fits so perfect in there. That is incredible. Alright, so we got all our wires. And any of these diagrams you can find on fullgauge.tv under support documents, because I really don't want to show you a wiring diagram. So our black is our ambient sensor. That's going to go in one. Our evaporator sensor, so our next sensor we're going to put in. It's next in line. And that actually shares terminal 2 with the ambient sensor. Our neutral next. Neutral for controller power. And that is going to 0. Next is going to be our 115 volts, 120 volt, 110 volt power. Everybody in the United States calls it something different. Oh man, we need a jumper now for this. We're missing one wire. This program will be interrupted with a little bit of stupidity. I forgot a wire. This full gauge controller versus a turbo air controller. Seems like there's a lot of wires, but there's actually not, because the turbo air controller, we have about 20 wires total, and this we got, I think, about 8. I don't know if I could count to 8. Next is going to be our hot for our compressor relay, which in this TC900 power, it's a separate relay because I believe it's a 12 amp relay up to a 1 horsepower compressor. So it's a separate relay altogether. Our next hot that's shared is going to be on terminal 11. And this is the hot that supplies power to our defrost heaters and our fans. And these colors obviously don't match the standard color code, because usually white is neutral, but apparently in the factory you can use any color for anything. So this is fan hot, and this is going to be our switch fan coming from our controller, which is terminal 12. Next is going to be our defrost heaters, which is a 10 amp relay. Let's see if we can find that bad boy. Oh, here we go. From left to right, we got 1 and 2 ambient temperature sensor, 2 and 3 evaporator temperature sensor, and they share terminal number 2. 0 is going to be, in this case, our refrigerator is 115 volts. So 0 is going to be our neutral, 115 volts is going to be our, 5 is going to be our hot, 7 is going to be our compressor, the wire that's going out to our compressor. 8 is going to be our common hot for our compressor. 10 is our heater, our heater hot. Common, which is 11, is going to be our hot common for our heaters and for our fans. And last but not least, number 12 is the wire going out to our fans. And obviously, if you work in this field, you'll know that the other side of the heaters and the other side of the fans and the other side of the compressor is all hooked up to a neutral, all bundled together like this. Like a bunch of little Eskimos. We're gonna put power to this bad boy and hopefully we don't see smoke, because I think this unit's seen enough smoke already. Since this very professional, wonderful technician threw away the cover, as well as cutting up all the wires, this is the way we're going to make this work. Yep, that took a little while, but it's definitely worth its weight in gold. Well, that concludes my retrofit for this turbo air freezer. Big pain in the ass, but it's definitely going to be worth it for the owner. It's all done, working, and I hope you enjoyed. This thing has been a serious mission. You know what a mission is? I do. This. Got that light too bright. Oh man. Oh my god. Look at where I have my feet. Zoom in on that. Right by the fish